Can you walk us through your thinking about why you decided to put a 90-day pause?
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions, because we have a big job to do. No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents, they wouldn't have done it. And it had to be done. What was happening to us on trade, not only with, you know, if you look at it, not only with China, but China was by far the biggest abuser in history, and others also, but somebody had to do it. They had to stop because it was not sustainable. Somebody had to do it. Roger actually said it. Charles Schwab was here a little while ago, one of the great financial people, and he said he's been waiting for 40 years for somebody to do what I did over the last month. And if you didn't do it, you wouldn't have a country. It wouldn't be sustainable. So I'm honored to have done it.
The president found a way to publicly kick himself in the nuts, and now he wants everyone to congratulate him for doing it.
We have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well. And they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal. And we have many other countries, as you know, many more than 75. And they all want to come, and they want to come here, or they'll go to Commerce, or they'll go to Treasury. They'll call John, they'll do somebody, they'll go through somebody, but they're all calling, how do we do this? They all want to make a deal. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out amazing. I think that our country is going to be at the end of a year or shorter, but I think we're going to have something that nobody would have dreamt possible.
The bullshit continues. Don't forget that as we wade through the feces, that Politico reported countries did reach out before he folded, but no one in the administration knew what to say, so they didn't answer.
As an economist, I can say that my judgment yesterday morning as I was watching interest rates climb up quite a bit, that a lot of the people who normally buy U.S. Treasuries were wondering whether the president was really serious about what he was saying when he was saying that we're going to renegotiate better deals for the American people. And I knew he was serious, and he knew he was serious. And we had been working on plans for the negotiations for weeks, and even had a couple of deals lined up that maybe were close to being announced. And we're getting ready to talk about, well, what's the next stage? What's the next step for the negotiations? I even yesterday morning was on a call with the president, with the Swiss president, talking about a Swiss trade deal. And so the point is everything was moving, but then when the bond market started to say, hey, we don't believe these guys, I think the president decided on his own, really, that, well, we're going to announce this anyway, we might as well do it today. There's a little bit of an extra push for the bond market. But this is the plan that he was pursuing all along.
So did you know about that? Thank you, Lawrence. Did you know this was part of his plan? He was going to do this on Thursday?
I knew that he had options that he wanted us to prepare in a very orderly fashion, unanimity between everybody from Peter Navarro to Howard Lutnick to Scott Bessent to me, and Vice President. He was also in on it. And the fact is that there were options for the president. That's always what he likes to see. And then he had the options and he was thinking about them. And then he made, I think, the absolutely right, decisive call to go with really the bigger move rather than announce one or two trade deals, but go with the bigger move so that everybody in the world understands that he means what he says.
Yeah, sure. Okay. This was all the plan all along. Destroy the economy for a few days. Wreck foreign allies' trust in America going forward. Force people to lose a bunch of their money in their retirement accounts so that we can now negotiate deals from the still crazy blanket 10% rate on the world. They're just waiting on the seals and penguins to finally sit down and negotiate.
Kevin, what about the deals? We want to see deals. We want to see win after win after win. We want to see countries coming into the White House signing deals. When will that happen? And which countries?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to name the countries yet. In fact, we have a meeting today with all the top principals where we're going to present to the president a list of what we think his priorities might look like, and then I'm sure he's going to have his own ideas about where to move things. But I can tell you that we've already got offers on the table for more than 15 countries. 15 countries. Great. Now, that doesn't mean there's a deal, but it means that you've heard the much larger number for people who call and they want to talk. But there are specific offers on the table, I've been informed from USTR, of about 15 countries right now. And so this is moving fast. The thing that I joked about when we said the 90-day pause is that we're going to go around the world in 80 days and have 10 days of rest.
It's weird how the most transparent administration in history, never wants to reveal the details behind all the wins that they keep bragging about. Trump wouldn't reveal the tech leaders that he claimed were kissing his ass. And Kevin Hassett won't name the countries that they have all these deals that they're pulling off with. Their plans are so genius, people in the White House didn't even know about it.
This is really interesting what's happened. I was actually the one who walked into lower press here. That's where a number of the press communication folks are at the White House. And I asked them, is it true, a 90-day pause? And they looked at me with blank stares. I had to tell the press folks that the president had put on Truth Social that he had considered the 90-day pause on tariffs. So this is news to the White House. I'm told any minute now the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, is going to come out of the doors from the West Wing and address reporters about this situation.
So since reality keeps rearing its ugly head in the face of the onslaught of propaganda from this administration that has no idea what the hell is going on, conservative media has handed the baton to drive this narrative home.
The market had rebounded by then. 2,200 points, is up way more, because Trump announced a brilliant move to pause the higher tariffs on countries negotiating with us, but meanwhile to raise China's tariffs to 125%. So wall off China by boxing them out, further weakening their economic power. It's genius.
I believe that he ambushed China. I believe that he suckered the whole world into believing that he was going to go down in this, this Harry Carey, this suicide mission.
So you think this is
him against the world?
The plan all along?
I think with him, it's so much spontaneous, but I believe it evolved. I mean, Monday, so many people were feeling terrible pain.
Yeah.
The markets were tanking. There was no, end in sight. People were watching their 401ks, their IRAs disappear. The whole nation was, I think, trembling over the uncertainty of where we were going with this. He was picking a fight with the entire world.
Yep.
I'm at the Regency Hotel with a dear old friend of mine, David Gerald, who does the stocks. Erica and I, my wife and I, are together.
You're a
Here in New
broker?
York. You're with my broker.
Of course.
And we're
Of course.
talking about, oh my God, this is awful, but we're doing the right thing. And then, look what he does. Oh, surprise. This is why Trump is triumphant. This is why you can't beat this guy.
You see, when Trump screws over tons of people and wreaks havoc on the economy, not realizing that it would affect interest rates after a huge sell-off in the bond market, all for the sake of stroking his ego and manipulating stocks for his buddies to make more money off of, while regular people suffer, the real genius and brilliance starts to take shape. And you should listen to Geraldo, because he was hanging out at the Regency Hotel with his broker, where rooms go for a minimum of $1,500 a night, talking about the best way that they can take advantage of other people's misery over Trump's potential destruction of the economy. They're blatantly telling us how rich they are and how little they care about how this affects people that aren't multimillionaires, while claiming the guy that makes these decisions based on his emotional state at the time is a genius. So when are people going to stop listening to them and these lofty claims of some kind of victory for Americans and American workers?
Are the gains today, is it like pushing an old lady down the stairs and then wanting credit for helping her back up at the bottom there? How do you see it?
I was going to sort of say it's like the arsonist calling the fire brigade and then taking credit. Similar sort of idea. No, this is why Goldman is saying what it's actually said. Number one, you still have the auto tariffs. Number two, you still have the steel and aluminium tariffs. Number three, you have the Chinese tariffs at 125%, the largest bilateral trade relationship. And number four, you have a new global US tariff of 10%, which is 3 times the previous average of 2.5%. So yes, the worst in terms of Japan, South Korea, the EU has been staved off, but there is so much tariff in the system at the moment that's just going to wash over the global trading system. We are so far from being out of this.
You can say this is a relief, but there's another 90 days of uncertainty to come, which is worth it. And you could also try to spin this as a victory, or you could see this as a failure of policy and leadership on the part of the White House, Kelly, in the following way. I remember the night before the tariffs were imposed and the day and that day, and I asked our great White House reporter, Megan Casella, why we had heard nothing of the plan. And the reason I asked is it because they don't know or they're not saying? And what we found out since is they didn't know. The plan was made up that day. It was not nobody on Wall Street. They didn't run it by Wall Street. They didn't run it by business leaders and CEOs. And now you could argue, after withering punishment from markets, from bond markets, trillions lost across the globe, the president He didn't just flinch, but he ducked. There are still trillions lost from that day, Kelly. There's still quite a bit that's been lost here in terms of where we were just on April 3rd. We're still down, way down. These 10% tariffs, the market doesn't like these either. We didn't get that back yet.